We have a fascinating story to report on today, brought to us by Raw Story and the International Business Times. They say the Taliban and ISIS are on the verge of an all-out war against each other. They say, quote, in a letter addressed to ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of the Taliban insisted that jihad against the Americans and their allies must be conducted under one flag and one leadership. The Taliban does not consider the multiplicity of jihadi ranks beneficial either for jihad or for Muslims. Your decision taken from a distance will result in ISIS losing support of religious scholars, mujahideen, and in order to defend its achievements, the Taliban will be forced to react. So this is a threatening letter here sent from the Taliban to ISIS. And understand that there are a couple of things at play here. First of all, ISIS was formed from a branch of al-Qaeda that rebelled and were more extreme than al-Qaeda. And the Taliban knows that, they're aware of that, and it scares them. And also, there's been some defectors from the Taliban to ISIS recently, and that also scares them. So the Taliban are scared of all that stuff, and on top of that, some of their financial backers are, they're afraid they're going to flip and support ISIS instead of support them. Oh boy. We know that when, disagreements arise, and then you have money issues on top of the disagreement, it can get pretty ugly. Now here's the kicker. Quote, last week, local media reported pitched battles between the Taliban and supporters of ISIS in eastern Afghanistan, with casualties reported on both sides. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. So the fight is already here. You already have ISIS versus the Taliban in eastern Afghanistan. Now also keep in mind, and this is something not many people know about, or if they know about it, they certainly don't talk about it at all, but the Taliban and ISIS are actually very different ideologically and religiously. So the Taliban believes in something called Deobandi fundamentalism, which is a fundamentalist interpretation of Sunni Islam, but is focused more on anti-imperialism, and it's nationalistic in its goals. So I think it was founded at the time when there was concern about British imperialism, and it was like an anti-imperialist movement that rose up. And again, they're nationalistic in their goals. So the idea isn't necessarily a global caliphate. It's leave us the fuck alone to implement our version of Sharia among our people. Still horrible guys, still terrorists, so on and so forth, you name it. But they're not trying to do a global jihad. It is a nationalistic jihad, and they're also a guerrilla army. And, by the way, the number of Taliban operatives today is about 60,000, according to experts. Now, when we talk about ISIS, on the other hand, they believe in Wahhabism. That, of course, is another version of fundamentalist Sunni Islam, but they're the most intolerant and the most fundamentalist, and they want a global caliphate. And, of course, they're against not only Shias, naturally, but also other kinds of Sunnis. They view you as you're not equal to them unless you're exactly like them in every way. And again, they have global ambitions. So there are some big differences there. And remember, when it comes to ISIS, the number is maximum about 30,000 people, at least according to reports from a few months ago that they have. So this can be a big fight. Now, understand that this is also a growing trend of ISIS basically picking fights with other Sunni fundamentalists. So, like I described, they broke off. They were part of al-Qaeda, and they broke off into their own thing. So initially they were formed through a fight and a rift with al-Qaeda, and they were more extreme, believe it or not. Then also, like I said, the Taliban they have issues with, but also they have issues with Hamas. So on May 28th, this was an article in the International Business Times. The title was, ISIS threat in Gaza turns Hamas into a counter-terrorism player for Israel and Egypt. You want to talk about a mindfuck? That's a mindfuck and a half, because nobody's more anti-Israel than Hamas. But because they're concerned about how popular ISIS is becoming and that they could take people from Gaza and recruit them to ISIS, and they're concerned about their own power and their own control, they're like, holy shit, we gotta take out these ISIS guys, man. So, believe it or not, Hamas recently bulldozed a Sunni mosque in the heart of Gaza because an ISIS branch was functioning there, and they were threatening Hamas's power. And also, with Hamas, just similar as the Taliban, Hamas has, again, they're fundamentalists, they want Sharia as well, but they are nationalistic in their goals. They want to establish it within borders. They want to create a Palestine and establish Sharia within borders. Whereas ISIS, again, they're global in their mindset, and they're against nationalism. They're totally against nationalism because they want a global caliphate. Other nations cannot exist. So that's why you see you have true and deep ideological and religious differences among Hamas, the Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda originally, like I said. And this goes back to a point I made months ago, which is that ISIS will eventually self-destruct. There's no question about it, because there's too many internal contradictions, there's too many internal struggles, there's too many problems within the fundamentalist Sunni community to begin with, and it cannot sustain. I mean, just one example, they kill people in their so-called caliphate that they establish now for smoking cigarettes. They beheaded somebody for smoking cigarettes and doing drugs and drinking alcohol. Okay, they've killed people time and time again over that. But meanwhile, the same time they're doing that, there's reports that a lot of the ISIS fighters are taking amphetamine pills left and right. Shia fighters who were on the front line spoke about that, how they took over a place that was formerly controlled by ISIS. They found amphetamine pills stacked to the fucking ceiling. So you're killing people for doing drugs while at the same time you take drugs. Okay, you look like giant fucking hypocrites. So there's internal struggles there, there's internal problems, and then you're picking fights with other Sunni extremists. I mean, what? Do you expect 60,000 deep in the Taliban to just say, okay, whatever, ISIS, you can attack us and we're fine with it? I mean, 60,000 Taliban, 30,000 ISIS. ISIS, you might not want to fuck with the Taliban, son. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to get yourself into some shit. But again, this is why, another reason I'm a non-interventionist. I get it, international community can play a part and can go after ISIS, yada yada. But there is going to be an uprising within the areas that are governed by ISIS. There is going to be an uprising from other Sunni fundamentalists and other moderate Sunnis and the Shias, as are already fighting them. So TikTok, it's just a matter of time. They're not as smart, they're not as brilliant as you think they are. As we learned not too long ago, Sunni Baathists, so secular Sunnis that used to be with Saddam, helped ISIS get all their military gains and helped them get all their territorial gains. They were the masterminds behind how much ISIS expanded. Without those guys, you remove the Baathists and they're a bunch of fucking religious idiots who don't know their ass from their elbow, and they'll be destroyed very shortly. So again, it's just a matter of time. Wait and see.